Have you ever sensed a kind of intelligence nobody teaches? It doesn't appear in classrooms, nor in success manuals, yet everyone fears it. This is not about IQ or charisma. It is about a subtle and dangerous clarity. A form of power so quiet that it can reshape rooms, bend conversations, and influence outcomes without ever demanding attention. This force is not loud. It thrives in silence, pulling strings while others chase applause. Picture someone who never raises their voice, yet commands the room effortlessly. Or the woman whose polite smile hides strategic moves invisible to others. They don't need to perform. Their presence alone unsettles those who cannot read them. That is dark intelligence. It is not cruelty, it is precision. It is the skill of noticing patterns, predicting moves, and using perception as a weapon. Once you glimpse it, you can't unsee it. The world no longer looks random. Every reaction becomes data, every silence a tactic. And once you enter, you're no longer ordinary. Niccolo Machiavelli, often misunderstood, praised this silent power. He admired not brilliance for display, but intellect that shapes outcomes unseen. The fox, not the lion, wins in the shadows. Dark intelligence is not about being noticed, it is about being inevitable. And in today's world, those who master it quietly rise above the rest. In this journey, you'll uncover 5 traits that define the dangerously intelligent, and 6 tactics to wield them daily. Each trait is silent, but lethal. Each tactic turns theory into influence. By the end, you'll see how control isn't about domination, it's about invisibility. The most feared power is the one nobody sees coming. The first step is not action, but observation. At the beginning, you stay quiet while others reveal themselves. You listen longer, letting their words expose inconsistencies. You smile at jokes that are not funny, not out of amusement, but because it shows who craves validation. Silence becomes your first weapon, and patience your sharpest edge. Slowly, patterns emerge. People argue over nonsense, defend lies to protect fragile egos, and boast when they're secretly afraid. You start to recognize predictability in their chaos. And predictability is weakness. The darkly intelligent learn this early. When people feel safe, they expose themselves. That's when your quiet presence becomes most dangerous. Conversations no longer seem casual. Every pause, glance, and gesture becomes a signal. You don't wait for confessions, you detect them. You'll learn to hear what is unsaid, to spot insecurity behind humor, or fear beneath arrogance. This shift is crucial. You are no longer reacting emotionally. You are collecting data for future advantage. Emotions themselves turn into instruments. Where most are controlled by anger, sadness, or fear, you refine them. Anger becomes analysis. Sadness becomes clarity. Fear becomes foresight. You stop being ruled by feelings and start using them to read others. While they panic or shout, you remain silent, calculating, knowing their fragility is now visible. If this resonates, pause now and comment, "I observe in silence." This isn't just engagement, it's a declaration. By writing it, you affirm that you are stepping away from noise into strategy. Transformation begins when you admit it to yourself. That single phrase marks the shift from being reactive to being intentional in every move. The first defining trait, unshakable calm. The dangerously intelligent do not react as expected. Insults fail to provoke them. Pressure doesn't break them. While others collapse in panic, they remain steady, analyzing. Calmness is not absence of feeling, it is control of it. And nothing unsettles a crowd more than someone who refuses to flinch. The second trait, invisible reading. You don't just look at people, you dissect them. The way their eyes shift when lying, the tone that rises when they desire, the nervous hands hiding fear. You become fluent in microsignals. Others feel exposed near you though they can't explain why. That discomfort is your silent shield and silent sword. The third trait, mystery is power. While most overshare, you reveal little. You control the narrative by giving fragments, never the whole. People fear what they can't understand, and you feed them just enough uncertainty. You're present, yet unreadable. Scarcity creates value, and being unpredictable keeps others off balance and cautious around you. The fourth trait, surgical speech. Words are not wasted, they are weapons. Each sentence is deliberate, each pause designed. Silence can press harder than shouting. A compliment placed with timing can disarm. A question asked softly can reveal more than interrogation. Your language doesn't force agreement. It guides others to convince themselves. The fifth trait, self-sufficiency. The dangerously intelligent do not need praise, recognition, or constant validation. Their worth is internal. This makes them untouchable, because control through guilt, shame, or approval no longer works. When you want nothing, no one can bribe or trap you. That independence radiates power, the aura of being unbreakable. With these 5 traits, the foundation is built. But knowledge alone is useless without practice. That's where 6 tactics come in: methods for applying this dark intelligence in daily life. They turn theory into influence, silence into control, and presence into authority. Each tactic is simple, but their impact reshapes every interaction you enter. The first tactic, guide without dominating. Most speak to win. You speak to lead. You ask questions that seem harmless. Why do you think that? Or how did it feel? Yet they lower defenses and reveal truth. The other believes they're in control, but you're steering from within. The real power lies in subtle direction, not loud instruction. The second tactic, silence as pressure. People hate empty space, rushing to fill it with excuses or confessions. When they try to manipulate you, don't resist, silent. Let them drown in their own unease. Your quiet is not absence, if wait. Each second stretches, each pause unsettles. Silence becomes presence so strong, it cannot be ignored. The third tactic, mirror and redirect. If someone shows anger, you briefly match their energy, then guide it away. If they show insecurity, you reflect hesitation before offering reassurance that benefits you. If they display pride, you feed it until it positions them where you want. You never push people, walk willingly into the path you prepared. Before I reveal the next tactics, pause, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Not just for this channel, but as a commitment to yourself. If this content is sharpening your perception, don't leave it to chance. Subscribing is your silent declaration that you are training your mind for power, precision, and the discipline to rise above noise. The fourth tactic, reveal intentions only after victory. Never explain your plan beforehand. Let people underestimate your silence, misread your calm, and feel safe. Then, when the result favors you, they realize too late they played into your hands. Nothing terrifies more than discovering you built your own downfall unknowingly. The fifth tactic: never use power emotionally. This is where most fail. They punish to soothe anger or seek revenge for pride. You must be different. Strike without spectacle, without ego, without noise. Remove threats with clean precision, always for strategy, never for emotion. It feels less like conflict and more like fate correcting itself. The sixth tactic: conceal your depth. People respect intelligence, but fear what they can't measure. Give them only part of yourself. 60% is enough. They'll believe they understand you, and that false safety lowers defenses. The smartest move is letting them think they are smarter. Then, when they fall, it feels like their choice, not your trap. With these 6 tactics, theory becomes practice. Observation shifts to execution. You no longer chase influence, you embody it. Like Machiavelli's fox, you don't roar to prove strength. You step silently, striking unseen. While others fight loudly for scraps of power, you shape outcomes in shadows. Quietly, invisibly, you become inevitable. But dark intelligence isn't only useful in politics or battles. It lives in daily life, especially in relationships. This is where most people lose themselves, surrendering clarity for love, loyalty, or guilt. Here, emotional traps steal power. Yet with silent strategy, relationships stop being cages and start becoming fields where you set the rules. Every conversation becomes negotiation. Every compliment can be currency. Every silence becomes a sign. Most people expose intentions too early, eager to be liked or understood. They trade their fears and secrets, hoping for connection. But the dangerously intelligent remain quiet. They let others unfold, giving rope, never noticing they're tightening it themselves. This silence isn't cold, it is calculated. By holding back your story, you reduce risks. The less people know about you, the less they can use. Meanwhile, you collect their details. Their sarcasm reveals insecurity. Their kindness may hide motives. Their confidence may mask fear. You hold the map of their psyche, while they don't even realize the game began. When tested, you don't resist, you vanish. Disrespect is not met with argument, but with absence. Silence becomes punishment. Absence becomes power. Nothing haunts a manipulator more than losing access to someone they thought they controlled. Your withdrawal speaks louder than any shouted defense, leaving them questioning themselves long after you're gone. This creates a new aura around you. Rarity. What is rare feels valuable, and what is scarce feels powerful. By limiting your presence, you increase your weight. People start adjusting their behavior, not because you demand it, but because your silence shapes them. They realize you cannot be easily reached, and that mystery makes them tread carefully. If this idea makes sense, write in the comments. Power in silence. These words serve as a reminder. Control doesn't require noise. By commenting, you seal a small pact with yourself, that you will stop reacting like the crowd, and instead learn to wield silence as strategy. It is not just engagement, it is reinforcement of your transformation. The presence of dark intelligence feels like a ghost in the room. You don't need to dominate, you refine the game itself. Others may underestimate you, and that becomes your favorite advantage. Masks are used strategically, words layered with meaning, actions leaving no fingerprints. You move unseen, yet your influence shapes everything around you. This is why Machiavelli praised the fox over the lion. Anyone can roar, but few can strike quietly. Power isn't about being feared or loved, It's about being beyond both. You don't beg for affection, nor do you demand submission. You build control through subtlety, through invisibility, and through the chilling reality that you cannot be easily defined. By now, your perception sharpens. You no longer see people for whom they pretend to be. See fragility, usefulness, risk, influence. You can predict betrayal before it forms. You sense lies before words escape. You remain steps ahead because your mind no longer reacts emotionally. It calculates, like a strategist mapping moves long before the game begins. At this stage, truth itself becomes less important than belief. People don't follow facts, they follow stories they think are true. And if you control their illusions, you control them. Trust becomes a tool. Deception becomes predictable. When most live in denial, the darkly intelligent learn to guide perception, bending reality without resistance. This doesn't mean cruelty, it means clarity. While others burn energy defending pride or chasing validation, you invest silence and patience. Each observation becomes leverage. Each pause becomes pressure. Each carefully placed word tilts the outcome. The game changes, not because you shout louder, but because you never needed to shout at all. In relationships, this control is subtle yet powerful. You don't plead, you don't explain, you don't chase. Your presence becomes privilege, not entitlement. People sense it. Affection cannot buy access. Loyalty without purpose means little, and closeness can be revoked at any time. They behave differently, not because you demanded, but because they feel it. Your strength comes not from taking, but from withholding. Ignoring becomes more terrifying than anger. Disappearance becomes more punishing than confrontation. While others beg to be understood, you remain quiet. That silence forces reflection. They wonder, regret, and crumble under the weight of absence. Power is no longer visible, it is felt deep within. Dark intelligence makes you unreadable. Where once you were easy to predict, now you're a mystery. Others cannot tell when you're hurt, or when you're planning. Pain becomes just another piece of data. Goals remain hidden. Strategies unfold without warning. And this unreadability is your shield, ensures no one knows your depth until it's too late. At this level, your presence shifts. You no longer need to prove yourself or even defend yourself. You walk into a room quietly, yet eyes turn. Not for charisma, but because unpredictability radiates. People sense they cannot manipulate you, that you do not need them, that their usual tricks fail. Your calm becomes louder than their chaos. Pause here. If you've stayed this long, your mind is already sharpening. To anchor this, subscribe now. It ensures these lessons continue reaching you. More importantly, it signals commitment, not just to this channel, but to yourself. Subscription is not a click, it's a declaration that you are ready to rise above noise, into clarity and silent power. The difference is subtle, but absolute. Others react, you design. They chase approval, you observe. They argue to prove worth, you calculate quietly. This detachment makes you appear unshakable. And when people cannot predict you, they fear you're not for what you do, but for what you might do. Power isn't displayed. It is implied in every pause. The lesson deepens. In silence, you're not passive, you're preparing. Each word withheld is a blade unsheathed later. Each absence is a move made off the board. People assume inactivity means weakness, but in truth, it means precision. You act only when gain is certain. Like the fox, you survive longer by being underestimated than by roaring loudly. Consider betrayal. Most confront, argue, and bleed energy, proving they were wronged. The dangerously intelligent see betrayal as inevitable. Instead of exploding, they watch it form. By the time others reveal their disloyalty, you already adjusted. No rage, no spectacle, just correction. And nothing unsettles like realizing you were defeated before beginning. Dark intelligence is not about fighting every battle. It is about shaping the fields, so most battles never need to be fought. You guide perceptions, limit exposure, and strike only with advantage. The result is paradoxical. You appear effortless, while others exhaust themselves. Quietly, your influence grows. By doing less, you end up achieving more. People expect noise when they push. They expect explanation, justification, defense. Instead, you give none. Silence unsettles them. Mystery disarms them. They begin to adjust behavior, not because you forced it, but because absence and unpredictability train them. This is why silence becomes your sharpest weapon. It makes others discipline themselves for you. By now, you see relationships differently. You don't cling, you don't beg, you don't demand. Affection is chosen, not chased. Distance is strategy, not weakness. And this terrifies manipulators. They realize guilt, shame, or promises no longer hold you. The person who needs nothing cannot be controlled. That is why self-sufficiency is the ultimate shield. Dark intelligence reshapes presence. You stop seeking to be everywhere. You learn to make absence echo louder than noise. Scarcity is power. People fear what they cannot reach easily. They crave what withdraws. By limiting yourself, you become more valuable. This is not arrogance, it is leverage. You train the world to see you as rare. Think of conversations. Where most speak to fill silence, you speak to plant ideas. Every word becomes intentional. Each pause signals more than chatter. You don't argue to convince, you guide, so they convince themselves. Subtle influence is the essence of dark intelligence. Others walk away believing it was their choice when you set the path silently. By living this way, you become unreadable. Masks replace expressions, layers replace transparency. People cannot tell what moves you, and in their confusion they hesitate. That hesitation is your advantage. Fear doesn't come from threats, it comes from unpredictability. They fear what they can't measure, and you've built a presence beyond measurement. If this resonates, type, "I master silence." Writing it anchors the lesson. It is more than engagement, it is reinforcement. By declaring it, you commit to control through perception, not impulse. The act of commenting is practice itself, restraint, intention, strategy. And strategy is the heartbeat of dark intelligence in everyday life. The battlefield is rarely war, it is daily interaction. Power games hide in friendships, workplaces, and families. Most people trade control for approval. They explain too much, reveal too soon, demand too loudly. You don't. You remain unreadable, letting others show their cards while you keep your deck hidden. This is how silence wins, again and again. Distance becomes power. When someone disrespects you, you don't argue, you disappear. That absence weighs more than any angry speech. While they expect confrontation, you leave them with silence. And in that silence, panic grows. They start questioning themselves, replaying actions, realizing they lost access. Nothing unsettles more than absence used with precision. With time, you stop seeking validation. While others crave attention to feel worthy, you detach. You don't need their applause or even their understanding. That autonomy makes you untouchable. Manipulators cannot lure you with promises or threaten you with withdrawal. You mastered the rarest resource, independence from external control. And that independence radiates. People feel it. They adjust behavior unconsciously. They sense your standards without you ever naming them. They treat your presence as privilege because they know it can be revoked. You don't control by force. You influence by absence. And this quiet authority unsettles them more than any direct command. Dark intelligence transforms you into something rare, a presence that bends rooms without noise. You no longer explain yourself, no longer justify decisions, no longer chase acceptance. Instead, you observe, wait, and act only when it benefits you. Your restraint speaks louder than noise, and your unpredictability feels heavier than threats. The old version of you, eager for approval, dies quietly. You bury the need to be liked. You abandon the habit of defending your worth. In its place, a new presence rises, steady, quiet, precise. This isn't cruelty, it is evolution. You are no longer emotionally fragile. You've become someone who moves like a shadow, but impacts like thunder. Others won't always understand. They will sense something different, something unsettling. You are no longer easy to manipulate, nor eager to please. They may call you distant, they may call you cold, but beneath their labels lies fear. The fear of not being able to predict or control you. That fear is proof you've crossed into dark intelligence. Your words become few, but heavy. Each statement lands with weight because you don't waste them. Silence amplifies your voice. People listen because you don't always speak, and when you do, it bends the conversation. You don't need volume, your presence is enough. The contrast between your quiet and their noise makes you magnetic and terrifying. Power shifts. You don't chase opportunities, they move toward you. You don't compete loudly, you prepare silently. Others exhaust themselves fighting for attention. You win by being different. While they play checkers, you play chess. Each move measured, each silence planned. This invisible advantage builds quietly, but its effects reshape everything. Pause again, subscribe if you haven't yet, and write, "I choose clarity." This act isn't random, it cements the mindset. It is more than following a channel, it's choosing transformation. By engaging, you're telling yourself, I no longer act emotionally. I no longer react blindly. I choose silence, strategy, and a mind sharper than chaos. At this stage, you move differently. You don't rush to answer. You don't reveal your emotions. You watch as others expose themselves while you remain unreadable. That unpredictability is terrifying. People can't map your motives, can't measure your depth, can't predict your moves. They sense danger in your silence, even when you do nothing. Your presence begins to shape spaces without effort. When you enter, people notice. When you leave, your absence is felt. You don't demand attention, it arrives naturally. This aura is not magic, it is discipline. By mastering silence, restraint, and patience, you build something rare. Influence that operates invisibly, yet dominates completely. This is what Machiavelli understood centuries ago. The lion may roar, but the fox survives. Strength without subtlety is predictable, and predictable strength can be defeated. But subtlety, quiet moves, unseen calculations, cannot be countered. People can prepare for noise, but they cannot defend against silence they don't even recognize. Dark intelligence is not loud brilliance. It is not about being celebrated or admired. It is about clarity in chaos, strategy in emotion, and foresight in noise. It refines you into someone different, less reactive, more calculating, and ultimately untouchable. You no longer play by their rules, you redesign the game itself in silence. With it, you see truth differently. You realize people don't care about reality, they care about what they believe. And if you can guide their belief, you can guide their actions. This is not manipulation, it is mastery of perception. The majority live in illusions. The dangerously intelligent learn to direct those illusions with precision. This is why silence carries so much weight. Noise is everywhere. The rarest thing is restraint. In a world addicted to attention, the person who withholds it becomes the center of gravity. People lean into your quiet, desperate to understand it, to break it, to predict it. And yet, the more they try, the deeper the mystery grows. Now, think of yourself. Imagine walking into a room and needing no words to shift its energy. Imagine leaving people uneasy without lifting a finger. That is not arrogance, it is design. Dark intelligence shapes you into a presence that doesn't seek dominance, but naturally attracts it. You stop chasing, and instead everything begins to chase you. This is the transformation. From reactive to strategic, from emotional to precise. Others burn in chaos while you remain steady. They fight for attention while you train in silence. They beg to be understood while you remain unreadable. The contrast grows so sharp that people can't help but sense it. You are different, and difference is power. Dark intelligence is not about becoming cruel, it's about becoming calculated. You don't waste energy, you don't waste words, you don't waste presence. Instead, you direct all of it like a weapon. People expect anger, but you deliver silence. They expect defense, but you vanish. They expect explanation, but you leave absence. That absence echoes louder. By now, you know the 5 traits and 6 tactics. You know silence as weapon, presence as rarity, mystery as shield. You know words as scalpels, and absence as punishment. You know independence as freedom, and foresight as control. This is the blueprint of dark intelligence, invisible power, undeniable impact, and absolute discipline. Let's recap. First, observation comes before action. You learn to watch longer than others can endure. Second, calmness replaces reactivity. Your silence unsettles because it is unreadable. Third, words become scarce but sharp. Fourth, mystery becomes leverage. And fifth, independence makes you untouchable. Together, these traits form your silent arsenal. Next, the tactics. Guide without dominating. Use silence as pressure. Mirror and redirect. Reveal only after victory. Never act emotionally and hide your depth. Each tactic sharpens presence. Each move compounds influence. You don't force compliance. You allow others to walk into it, convinced they made their own choices when you shaped the path. In relationships, this power is amplified. Where others surrender clarity for affection, you don't. You keep distance as privilege, silence as pressure, and absence as punishment. People learn they cannot control you through emotion. They adapt themselves to your standards, even when unspoken. That is silent control, influence without declaration. The result is transformation. You no longer seek validation, applause, or even recognition. You have no need for it, and when someone needs nothing, they cannot be broken. That is the essence of dark intelligence. Presence without exposure, power without display, and control without confrontation. You become untouchable, unreadable, unforgettable. Here is your bonus insight. The most powerful move is sometimes withdrawal. When you disappear, people fill the silence with their fears. They chase, they regret, they question themselves. Strategic absence is more impactful than any argument. Use disappearance not as retreat, but as weapon. The ghost often controls more than the warrior. Another bonus: let others underestimate you. Pretend to know less, show only fragments, mask your true reach. Overconfidence makes them sloppy, careless, predictable. The underestimated fox always outlives the roaring lion. Let them think you are weaker, so when you strike, the shock multiplies the impact. Underestimation becomes your greatest disguise. Now it is your turn. If this message awakened something in you, commit openly. Right. I embrace dark intelligence, not just to engage, but to affirm. This act marks your choice to step beyond noise, beyond reaction, into clarity and silence. It is not a trick for algorithms, it is a declaration of transformation. Make it real with your words. Subscribe now. Not for me, but for you. Because discipline requires repetition. Each time you return, the lessons sharpen. Each time you reflect, perception deepens. By subscribing, you're choosing to continue the path, not just watching once, but training until silence becomes instinct, until strategy replaces impulse. Commitment builds mastery. Turn notifications on. This ensures silence stays sharpened, strategy stays practiced. Power fades without discipline. By choosing to stay connected, you are choosing not to drift back into noise. Think of it as training your mind like a blade. It must be maintained, or it dulls. Notifications aren't reminders, they're sharpening stones. Finally, share this silently with someone who needs clarity. Not everyone will understand, but those ready will feel it. Power spreads in whispers, not shouts. Dark intelligence is not about conquering others, it is about conquering yourself. You've taken the first step. Now, stay the course. Remember, the most dangerous presence is the one that moves unseen.